Good afternoon, dear students, teachers and faculty members, invited guests, our Provost, Professor Abir Malik, Chairperson Tejalben Amin, and our very honored guest for the talk today, Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi, MP, Sultanpur, Uttar Pradesh. May I request all of you to please rise for the national anthem. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you this afternoon at this exclusive interaction with Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi, who is a part of the policy-making machinery that runs the country and thus amongst those who can truly make a difference to the society. May I now request our chairperson, Srimati Tejalben Amin, to please welcome Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi to Navrachana University and to Vadodara. The goal of Navrachana University is to shape its students as informed and responsible global citizens, with the hope that they will continue to actively engage themselves in working for the betterment of our society. This talk is part of the regular series of talks by influential Indians in various walks of life that are organized at the Navrachana University round the year for the benefit of our students. This short presentation and video will explain what our young university is all about. Navrachana University is a vibrant place. In addition to classroom education, students are constantly exposed to other forms outside the classroom education, like lectures by eminent academic and public speakers, seminars organized by the industry, annual events by student clubs and technical seminars. Navrachana University, fondly referred to as NUV, was formed under the Private University Act in 2009. It is a multidisciplinary university with 4 schools and 22 programs. It is 2,500 students strong and they are taught by about 150 faculty members, most of whom are PhD degree holders. The university has well-equipped library with huge online resources, several computer labs, and many engineering labs and workshops. Under the banner of reinventing higher education, the education at the university is both formal and informal and revolves around active interaction between students and teachers. Navrachana University has adopted a comprehensive educational focus. For example, It offers a broad base plus education, implying that the education is beyond the minimum. For example, BSc education consists of science and vocational education. So students upon graduation have the option to pursue higher education in science or succeed in jobs. It also prepares T-shaped students through broad, non-disciplinary base and focused disciplinary expertise. Emphasis is placed on a balancing interdisciplinary education, cross-disciplinary education, and disciplinary education. The university places strong emphasis on social connect and on developing social consciousness. Few programs have focused on CSR activities to draw attention to those who need help. This is one of the few universities that requires all students to enroll in a course called Coach, which requires them to do fieldwork and work hands-on to solve real-life problems and create social innovation. To take at least one course in entrepreneurship and produce job creators, and to take several courses in communication to help become and articulate confidence. Research and projects. University places strong emphasis on research and project-oriented education. Students work with faculty members who have sponsored research grants from DSE and SERB. Programs have adopted a faculty-oriented education which requires students to undertake research and apply results to develop new technologies. Students also work with faculty members on consultancy projects to learn about real-life issues. Talks and discussions. The university routinely holds talks and discussions. For example, it holds Samvad, a public lecture series that invites prominent speakers from India and abroad. The university has lecture series which invites eminent speakers from academic and industry. It holds national conferences and seminars. Achievements. Navrachana University fosters in students a spirit of be what you want to be. Consequently, students have done well. Most are well placed or enrolled in higher education or have started own enterprises. Very large of our graduates are pursuing education overseas. One of our students in Cornell University has completed master's degree in engineering in 1 year and is now employed in a repairable company. Students routinely enter in competitions and win. Three years in a row, our students have secured first place in an entrepreneurship-oriented program organized by a local university. Our students regularly present academic papers in conferences and publish their own papers. They compete in sports and win. One of our students participated in Republic Day Parade in New Delhi. Another student was crowned and won International Beauty Pageant. The NUV students are brought to be made goal-oriented, confident, imaginative, well-educated, thoughtful, eager to learn, problem solvers, interested people, good human beings, and entrepreneurial skills. Thank you. Now moving on to our speaker of the evening is the dynamic young member of parliament, Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi, and he'll speak on ideas for a new India. Before moving on the talk, I'd like to tell something about Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi. He is a second-term member of parliament who represented the Pilibhit constituency in 2009 and was elected from the Sultanpur constituency in 2014, winning both elections by record margins. He was the youngest ever national secretary of the BJP from 2008 to 2011, the youngest ever national general secretary of the party from 2011 to 2014, and continues to be a member of its national executive. He has been a member of a number of paramilitary standing committees, including those on defense and external affairs, and a member of the executive committee of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. It is indeed creditable to know that ever since he became an MP in 2009, he has chosen to donate his entire salary amount to the unfortunate families of farmers who have committed suicides. He has also created a funding program that ensures farmers do not fall into the debt trap. He donated a seed fund of ₹1 crore himself to this fund and crowdfunded the rest, appealing to the local elite and large farmers for donations. collecting over 22 crores in the process. More than 4,700 farmer families were thus helped. This success has led him to conceptualize another program on the same lines, Sapno Ka Ghar, for the homeless, with a target of 1,000 homes by the end of 2018. Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi is a writer too, having studied at the Rishi Valley School and then Modern School, Delhi, and earned a degree in economics from the London School of Economics to the University of London External System. His opinion pieces and policy analysis are widely published in several leading English and Hindi newspapers and appear in translation across several important regional language dailies. What I was personally amazed to know is that he is also a poet. He was only 20, almost the age of most present here, when his first book of poems, The Otherness of Self, was published. His second book of poems, Stillness, came out in 2015. Reviewers have applauded them as quiet, evocative collections of poems that speaks of melancholy, loneliness, hope, and desolation. In a poem titled Hidden in the Stillness collection, he beautifully writes, "After all these years, I'm not sure I have understood my failure. After all these years, I'm still not sure that it's you who will decide my prize." He is currently working on his third book of poetry, titled Surrender, while also traveling extensively to research for a book steeped in developmental agrarian economics, which seeks to answer the fundamental question, what is the economic future of Indian villages? Both these books are due to release in 2018. Before I invite Shri Feroze Varun Gandhi to deliver his talk, I would also like to share what he has remarked about politics and what resonates deeply with my generation. He has said, "Politics is something that governs our life. It is essential for us, especially my generation, to be aware and sensitive to the events around us." With these, your own words, sir, I invite you to come on the stage and deliver your address.
Srimati Tejal Ben Aminji, Professor Abid Malik, Shri Rajesh Talati, members of the media, friends. As a nation, we've gone from, no, it's okay, everybody can hear me. As a nation, we've gone from medievalism to postmodernism in a record time. And because of this, some would say we've not bothered to create a civilization in between. When you look at a city like Delhi, and you look at the fact that khap panchayats happen 30 kilometers from where I live, you'll know that this country has enormous opportunities in front of it, but also enormous challenges. How can we as young people and as citizens address these issues and add value to them is what I want to speak to you about today. Last year, a 12-year-old boy from Hyderabad called Ravi Teja was in his colony when he noticed a terrible accident happening over a pothole in his area. This was the third such accident he had seen in the last 1 month. Instead of going to the Hyderabad authorities, he took broken bits of stone, gravel, etc., and looked to fix that pothole himself. After he had fixed one pothole, he went to every single pothole in his colony, Banjara Hills, and with gravel, with bricks, with stones, he sought to do the same. The Telangana government was, of course, inspired by him. But what's more impressive is the Bangalore municipality, which is in Karnataka, the neighboring state, BBMP, they said that we're going to hold Ravi Teja up as an example. And they made something called the BBMP Pothole Reporter, where they said that if you take a snapshot of a pothole in your particular mohalla or area and you upload it, then if it's not fixed within 24 hours, you will actually get paid 100 rupees per day per pothole that you point out, and this will come out of the salary of the BBMP official. This is the power of being young. I was in Mumbai a few weeks ago and I saw the work of Feroze Shah. Feroze is a young lawyer of 24, and Harbans Mathur, who was his neighbor, of 84. They both said that, we live in Warsaw and the beach is one of the filthiest beaches that we can find. We don't want this to be our hallmark. And rather than ask the government, or rather than ask our local MLA or MP, let's just go about energizing social change for ourselves. And they put on gloves and they just started picking up marine litter and garbage, biodegradable and degradable, from the beach. This was about 7 years ago. Today it's become such a huge movement that when I went to Warsaw to have a look, there was about 500 people, including lawyers and teachers and celebrities and sportsmen and young folks like yourself, who just went there and they started doing this for hours every evening and every Saturday and Sunday. Together, under Feroze Shah's leadership, over 7,000 tons of trash has been picked up on an 8-kilometer long beach. And today Warsaw has the best beach in Mumbai, and people can not only actually go and hang out on the beach, but they can actually swim in the ocean as well. This is the power of young people in India today. One of the most significant revolutions of the year that's just passed was the Me Too movement, and all the women here should really feel proud of themselves the way this movement came about. Tarana Burke, a young girl, talked about how she was the victim of sexual abuse, and then Alyssa Milano, the actress, tweeted about it with the hashtag #MeToo, and suddenly it became huge. And it didn't just remain about victims of sexual abuse, it became about gender pay parity, equal opportunities for women, and it revitalized feminism as a whole. In India too, we've opened up conversations that hadn't started. In Mewat, which is a minority-dominated area bordering Delhi and Haryana, one of the poorest areas in Haryana, 40% of women had never attended any form of school. So Radio Mewat was actually a community radio started by women, where they just went out and they said, okay, we're going on the radio. If any caller wants to come in, please do so. And A, tell us whether you have a bank account, because we will get your bank account open the same day. And 2, if you're not educated, see, a lot of people talk about young people's education, but one of the things we have to focus on, and Ms. Amin, I hope you'll focus on this, is what about people who actually haven't had the luxury of any education and who are now 30 and 40 and 50, but they actually want to go back and learn to equip themselves to survive at a higher level. What about them? They're left behind completely. So Radio Mewat took all the people over the age of 40 who had not even a class 1 education, and in the evening they had voluntary classes for them. And because of them, 70,000 people have been educated in the last 5 years, and 130,000 new bank accounts have opened for people there. One of the most important issues to realize about being young is the enormous change that you can make in the world. Just look at I'm a political worker. When you look at Occupy Wall Street, which is just young people who put up tents on Wall Street basically and said, why should 1% of people in America own 60% of American assets? Do you know what the figure is in India? 1% of people in India used to, in 1920, own 12% of Indian assets. This is when there were kings on every corner. Today, 1% of people own 63% of assets. 10% of people in India own 91% of assets. That means 90% of everybody who's in our country owns 9% of assets. This is an absolutely shocking statistic and something that we should all be very worried about. Can the debate on inequality be brought center stage? Can the debate on inequality actually be broad-based? I'm writing a book on economic future of Indian villages, and a lot of the research was done in Maharashtra and in the south. And in Maharashtra, I was in Beed district in Marathwada, and I saw a newspaper headline about a girl called Yogita Desai, who died of a heart attack at the age of 15. Now, I wouldn't have mentioned her name, but 40 people under the age of 20 have died of a heart attack in Beed and Latur. And the reason is very simply this, that they all, madam, could you, thank you. And all of them have died because of a lack of water, because they have to walk 7 kilometers thrice a day to just get a pitcher of water for their family. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra actually did something very good, which is he sent a water train with 1 million liters of water to Latur and surrounding areas. It was looted 16 times. I mean, what kind of world are we living in? It was looted 16 times for 10 liters of water and 15 liters of water and 20 liters of water. At the same time, I had gone to Mumbai to TIS to give a lecture. And while I was going there, I saw a big hoarding which said Aquaria Grand, an apartment complex which is coming up with 200 apartments and 200 full-size swimming pools. And I just thought, what an insane thing to do. In a state where people are looting trains for water, to build an apartment complex with 200 full-size swimming pools is almost like making fun of the poor. Even in a city like Pune, which is a progressive cultural city, in a place like Koregaon Park, the average water that a resident gets is 250 liters of water a day. If you go 2 kilometers down the line, the average person gets 60 liters of water a day. This is within 1 kilometer. Where are we going as a people, and what can we do to fix it? You see, we have to understand the concept of social justice. It's very, very important. All of you come from privileged backgrounds, most of you. I certainly do. And all our lives, we've really never known what it is to live like most Indians live today. I'll give you an example. I was in Jharkhand, and in Prabhat Khabar, which is the biggest paper in Jharkhand, I read a headline which said in Garhwa, in Palamu, there was an 80-year-old woman called Shamdei Kunwar, who, could you make sure that people don't come in and out, please? It's very disturbing to me. You can always bet on the police to ruin everything that they're a part of. An 80-year-old woman, Shamdei Kunwar, went to the district magistrate's office, and she said that I want a blanket because it's the dead of winter, and could you give me a blanket? I've heard that you're handing them out. And the man said, nahi saab, andar sab tash khel rahe hain, abhi inke paas samay nahi hai, aap baad mein aa jaiye. She was 80 years old. She sat there for 5 hours and she died on the spot of the cold. all of you may have read about Gati Dhibar in Navrangpur in Odisha, who actually went to the district hospital, and he was carrying the dead body of his child. And he just put his child down and he said, "I'm sorry, I have no money to do his last rites. If you want to do something with it, do it. Otherwise, throw his body out." And when he was asked that, "Why didn't you just take the ambulance?" he said, "They asked me for 50 rupees and I don't even have money to eat, forget 50 rupees. How was I going to do it?" When I was fighting this election in 2014, I went from Lucknow to Kanpur, and there's a constituency in the middle called Unnao, and I saw posters of somebody behind bars, and it said, "Gaurav Shukla ko jitao, Gaurav Shukla ko bachao." I thought it was a bit strange. So he looked very young, so I said, "Who's this guy? And why is he behind bars?" And they said, "This guy already looks scared, I don't want to tick him off." They're looking really frightened. भैया देख लेना कि अंदर बाहर अपना आइए, हाँ, डिस्टर्ब थोड़ा होता है. Thank you. Madam, now that you have given the order, I think it'll be followed. Of course, they have done it again. So, now we know why our country is doing so well. So Gaurav Shukla was actually in jail for raping a 13-year-old child. And not only had he raped her, but he had put acid all over her face. And when I won my election, I talked to the Director General of Police, and I said, "Why is this guy not convicted?" And they said, we're trying to find out whether he was an adult when he did this or a child. I mean, this is such a crazy thing in our country. You are old enough to rape somebody and put acid on their face, but yet you will be tried as a child. I mean, that is not childlike behavior at all. My theory on this is, if you're old enough to rape, you're old enough to be tried as an adult. And I took this issue up in Parliament, and I spoke about this fellow by name. And I said, for 4 years the police have just taken bribes and they have just let this guy go. And the time has come where he must be put to account. And I talked to the DG of police and I said, "I'll have you sacked because it's going to become a big thing." Immediately the case started, and I'm very happy to say he was convicted, and I hope he spends the rest of his life in jail. But these, we're looking at all these examples and it frightens me. In Punjab, there was a guy called Ashish Kumar, and he saw a police officer taking his brother somewhere at night, and that was the last time he ever saw his brother. And then he went to him. Of course, it's very difficult to fight with the police in a small town. This was in Jalandhar. And that family had to actually move out to Delhi. Of course, the CBI put a murder charge on that police officer. So the family came to meet me in Delhi and said, "Could you help us? It has been 31 years and only 3 out of 25 witnesses have been summoned by the court." In 31 years. And I said, okay, but one consolation is that police officer's career must have been ruined because of the murder charge. They said, "Sir, his name is Sumed Singh Saini and he's currently the Director General of Police in Punjab." With a murder charge, the guy who's in charge of, keeping the law and order situation together. All of you have heard of the Chipko movement in Uttarakhand. And Chandi Prasad Bhatt and Sundar Lal Bahuguna, started from a small village in Almora called Reni. And they just went from village to village. That time there were no telecom networks, there were no trains, forget about the internet and anything else. And it was so successful, in today's language it was so viral, that every single person became a part of it, and they just said, these trees are like our mother. You know, we're not going to have anybody cut them or do illegal mining. And this was before environmental movements were fashionable. I'm talking about the 60s. Look what happened in Bangalore last year. There was a steel flyover project being built. It was going to cut the 2,000 biggest trees in Bangalore. And suddenly young people like yourself said, no, we're not going to stand for this. And they made a WhatsApp group. And they said, everybody who puts a missed call into that group, we're going to think that you're with us. 1.3 lakh calls in one day. So they felt emboldened and they felt better. And they said, okay, on Sunday we're going to do a human chain. 22,000 young people formed a human chain around those trees. And what happened? The government had to listen. And then the government said, okay, now we will build this flyover, but we will get architects to do it. And now they are doing it without cutting even a single tree. This is the power of young people. Today I'm speaking to all of you at Navrachana University, and I want to give you the example of the change that one of you can make. I hope all of you are going to make a huge change. That's why I've got up at 4 a.m. and come here today. But even if one of you decides to do it, you can do it. And I want to give you an example. While I was researching education, I came upon the example of Babar Ali. I was looking at why Murshidabad in Bengal had gone from the last rank in education to number 1 in Bengal. And I couldn't understand why. So I asked the local MP, and he said, you should meet this boy Babar Ali. And I said, who is he? I said, you should go and meet him. So I did. When Babar was 9 years old, he lived in a village called Bhapta in Murshidabad. And he was the only kid in his village who would go to school. And he went there with great guilt that he was the only one being educated. So every day he would come back, and underneath a guava tree, he would sit and teach all the kids what he had learned that day. And suddenly his fame grew, and people started, saying, "वो गुरुजी कहाँ है? वो गुरुजी कहाँ है? जो पेड़ के नीचे पढ़ाते हैं." And people from other villages would come and listen to him. And CNN heard about this. This was before anybody in India recognized him. CNN heard about this, and they gave him a Real Hero of the Year award. And they gave him $200,000. Mind you, he was a poor kid of a poor farmer in a poor area. Anybody else would have built a big house, bought land, bought a tractor, whatever. He said, no, I have started this journey and I'm going to take it to its logical conclusion. By now he was about 14. And he invested all the money into building a big school in his village. And it's actually just one big auditorium almost, partitioned. And he said 2,000 kids can study here at one time. And they had 3 shifts every day. So 6,000 children can study there. And he said everybody who studies will study free. Everybody who teaches will teach free. There's only one condition. Whoever comes to learn in this school will go back to his village and teach 5 people what they've learned that day. And it became such a big thing that every village then said, okay, no, now we want to build a big school, because it became like a positive competition. And it became so big that today in that circle, it's called the Education Circle of Bengal, every single child who had never even started school is now a postgraduate, a graduate. Babar is only 25 years old now. And this is what one person did. All of us at some point in our lives think life has been unfair to us. everybody here thinks that I should have done this and I should have got more, and so has this and I don't have that. And I want to give you the example of somebody that will show you how lucky we all are and how much we can do with that luck. Shrikant Bola was born totally blind in a small village called Sitaramapuram in what is now Andhra Pradesh. And he wanted to study science in +2, but they said, no, you can't study science because you're blind. So how will you do the experiments? How will you do the syllabus? So he went to court in Hyderabad, and the court said this child can study whatever he wants to study. So he did science and he got 99.6%. After topping the entire state of Andhra Pradesh, a totally blind person, he then sat for the IIT exams. He came number 10 all India in IIT. That's a huge thing. And he got into IIT Delhi. They refused to take him. They said, I'm sorry, how can we have a blind person? Where will he sit? Where will he eat? How will he walk to the classes? And it's not possible. He said, no problem, I don't want to fight with anybody. He applied to MIT in America. All of you know MIT. And he's the first Indian to ever get a full scholarship from MIT. He did astrophysics in MIT. He got a gold medal at MIT. He topped it. After that, Google, NASA, Oracle, HP, everybody went to him and they said, Shrikant, come and work with us. Whatever you want, we'll give it to you. He said, no, I want to go back to my country. He came back to India. He started a company called Bolland Industries. Today it's a 1,000 crore company. It employs 15,000 people, 7,000 of which are totally blind. So it's just an amazing thing. Somebody who had got no light created light in the lives of so many people. I think about, this kind of stuff all the time. I have fought elections from a place called Sultanpur this time, and next to my district is a district called Ambedkar Nagar. And I want all the girls here particularly to listen to this example. There was a 24-year-old girl called Shimla Kumari who was working in a brick kiln, in a Itka Bhatta. And she was thrown out one day unceremoniously. So she told the manager, she said, sir, I don't mind that you've thrown me out. Can you just pay me my 2 days' wages, daily wages? So he said, no, I won't pay you anything, get lost. She went to the labor district officer, and he was a very good officer, is a very good officer. And he said, what's the problem? She said, sir, I'm a poor scheduled caste, uneducated person, and this person has kicked me out, and 2 days' wages. He said, how much are they? And she said, sir, they are 55 rupees a day for 2 days. He said, wait a minute, didn't you work a full day's work? She said, yes, in fact, I work for 14 hours a day. So he said, but government mandates that all people who work a full day's work in labor should get 120 rupees. She said, sir, for the same work, all men get 120, and for the same work, all women get 55 to 60 rupees. And it's true. And this is all over India, by the way. And this officer was a very brave officer, and he said, okay, forget about your money. I'll give you the money right now. Take 2 of my younger officers. These are 2 jeeps. Go from village to village to small town, not just in this district, but in 6 districts, and get women's signatures or their thumbprint and the amount they've worked. We'll check it with the local employer, and if it is true, we will get their back payments for the last 3 years for them. This 24-year-old, uneducated, poor person had the courage to do this for 1 year, and because of her, 128 crore rupees was released to over 11 lakh women in those areas. I want to talk about political reform, because if politics doesn't change, the country will not change. what is the role of a person in a country, of a citizen? Surely it cannot be just go fight once in 5 years, press a button, and that's it. That's your entire role. That cannot be the role. I brought in a bill called Right to Recall in Parliament. Many of you may know that I did this. It of course did not make me the most popular member of Parliament in Parliament. But I said that if after you got elected, you have a rape or a murder charge in you, or you have a land grabbing charge on you, if 80% of the public is willing to write in and say that, look, we don't want this person as our MP, there should be a by-election. The government is chosen by the people and for the people. The first thing my mother said to me when I became a member of Parliament is, she said, never forget that you're a public servant. Don't ever think you're a leader. Think you're a public servant and conduct yourself in this manner. What about MP salaries? In India today, members of Parliament have increased their salaries by 4 times in the last 5 years. I have no problem with members of Parliament and members of Legislative Assembly or mayors being paid well. I have no problem with this. But tomorrow, all of you are going to go and do jobs. Some of you will become teachers, some of you will become doctors, some of you will become engineers and architects and so forth. None of you are going to be able to command your own price. There's a market price that is pre-decided, and you will work according to that. Yes, if you work in an organization, you won't even be able to do that. Your boss will tell you how much you're paid, and that's that. And if you want a raise, you'll have to beg for it, fight for it, whatever, earn it. I don't understand the concept in our country where a member of Parliament can raise their hands in Parliament and increase their salary whenever they want. I think this is unconstitutional and it's wrong. And I wrote a letter, I wrote actually 2 letters to the Speaker. One, I said there has to be a creation of a constitutional body in our country which decides how much politicians who are elected should get paid. It should look at cost of living, it should look at standard of living, it should also be performance linked. Imagine if I never ever go to Parliament, if I've never done any work, if I never go to my constituency, do I deserve my salary being doubled and then being redoubled in the last 5 years? I do not. This is public money. And the other thing is that politics cannot be looked at as a business or as a profession. Politics is a service. Today, there are 180 members of Parliament in the Lok Sabha and about 75 in the Rajya Sabha who have declared assets of more than 25 crore rupees. That's how much they've officially declared. I wrote a letter to every member of Parliament saying that all of you have declared assets at more than 25 crore rupees. Please voluntarily give up your salary. If you do so, you will save the country 400 crore rupees a year. I became an MP in 2009. I can proudly tell you in the last 9 years, I have never drawn even a 1 rupee salary from Parliament. And I've not done anybody any favors. I don't need it. And because I don't need it, I don't want to be a burden. And they said that no, it's constitutionally provided, so you have to get it. So every month I just write a letter to the Speaker's office saying this month the salary should be sent to this organization or this person. You see, we have to raise the level now. Parliament met between 1952 and 1972 for 130 days a year. In the last 15 years, Parliament has met for between 45 to 65 days a year. And what is the reason in our country that people vote on caste, religion and region? It's because nobody knows what the candidate stands for. One of my suggestions was, for every constituency in India in a parliamentary election, let's have a 1-hour televised debate with all the candidates from that constituency. Argentina has done it. They've called it Cambiemos. Now, what the problem with that is that, yes, there's a lot of candidates, etc., but at least the ones from national parties or even regional parties. Now, tomorrow, if you are voting in this constituency and you know, and you can go up there and you can say, right, what is your plan on job creation? What is your plan on agriculture? What is your plan on sanitation, urbanization, women's security? What is your plan on these issues? And if one person who's not from your religion and not from your caste and not from your region gives fantastic answers, I guarantee you he's going to do very well in that election. But today, because we don't know what A, B or C stands for, we say, okay, all these guys are the same, so I'll just vote for my community person because he'll probably listen to me more. And that is not the way a country becomes a superpower. When you talk to politicians, the first thing they'll tell you is that we've won elections, right? So how can you question us? We are representatives of the people. But is it so? Farooq Abdullah just won an election from Srinagar. He got 4% of the vote. I did not get 50% of the vote, and I was very conscious of this. So the first thing I did after winning my election, I called everybody that fought against me. And I said, I will come to your house for tea. Please call the other people so that there's no ego problem. You tell me what your plans are for this constituency. It's possible on many indicators you know a lot more than I know. And I will do what you say. Let's work for this constituency together. Everybody doesn't win, but everybody should have a share in the future of an area. Let's talk about women. Every political party talks about women. They just forget about women once, which is when they're giving tickets. 11% of women are MPs in India, 9% in the assemblies. But it's not just restricted to... I'm a big supporter of women's reservation in parliament and in assemblies. But there is a problem with this. And the problem is with how women's reservation is being dealt with. You go to any village in India, okay, that's got women's reservation for their pradhani. I'm just talking about a local sarpanch. I'm not talking about some high post. And I go to my constituency and say, where is the pradhan? Where is the sarpanch? You'll find a woman wearing a ghungat. She'll be sitting on the ground there. And you'll have some big fat sand of a guy on the stage. And you'll say, Bhaiya, aap kaun ho? And he'll say, Main Pradhan Pati hu. And this happens all the time. Pradhan Pati has become an official word in the political lexicon of India. Women's reservation should not mean Varun Gandhi's sister being an MP, wife being an MP, mother being an MP from a women's reserved seat. Women's reservation should mean the training of those women who truly represent the majority of suffering and inequality on these areas, being trained and then being given officially a chance to contest in the democratic process. Today, let's be honest, we talk about young people, right? You've called me to speak to you. But let's be very honest about this. If my last name was not Gandhi, would I have become an MP at 29? I would not. Would I have become a General Secretary at 32? Probably not. The fact is, we are living in an unequal country, and people like me are beneficiaries of an unequal system. The India that we have to build tomorrow, when we talk about young MPs today, You just decide the names A to Z, everybody comes from a political family. Am I saying the right thing or the wrong thing? If today there are so many people sitting here today who probably have more talent and more intellectual capital than I do, but if today you want to join the political process, you will burn yourself trying to achieve something, and then you'll achieve it 25, 30 years later. By then you'll be tired and you'll be, jaded. The fact is, look at Jordan. What has Jordan done? They've got a constitutional body called the Constitutional Body for Political Development. They go to every block in the country and they interview people, and from every block in the country they recommend 100 people to all major parties based on that person's ideology. And they say, we have interviewed this person based on their achievements, their hopes, their dreams, their courage, their ability. We will recommend this person to you. And there's a law in Jordan that every 5 years you've got to have 10% of the oldest members of parliament retiring if they've already been MPs for 3 times, and 10% of people under the age of 35 becoming MPs. So new blood is always coming into the system. And I can tell you that if we have reservation in our country for women, we've got to fight for a system in whichever political outfit we're in, saying that for God's sake, let this just not become a facade and a charade for politicians' wives and mothers and sisters and daughters to be in. I mean, even if we look at the Supreme Court of India, since 1947, we've had 6 Supreme Court judges that are women. Women, even today, don't have the right to fight in combat roles in the army. And so what we've really got to do is deepen democracy in our country. And how do we do that? Let's say all of you want to debate in Parliament on an issue concerning you. Whatever the issue is. How are you going to do it today? You can't do it. You'll go to your MP, you go to your MLA, and you'll say, excuse me, here's a chithi for you. Can you please talk about this in Parliament? And based on that person's strength, they may or may not do so. This is not a correct system. In England, there is a petition system. If 10,000 people petition something from the government, within 48 hours they are given a reply by the Prime Minister's office, mandated by law. And if 100,000 people petition for something, it could be an e-petition, it could be by writing, there is a 2-hour debate on it in Parliament. That is what you call democracy. When a student in Baroda can sit and say, I will get a parliamentary debate going and I will get 100,000 of my friends to come online and to sign for something, and there will be a response from national leaders on it in front of your eyes within a few months. That is what we call democracy, and that is something we all need to work towards. We talk about corruption, right? What is the reason that our country has not been able to fight this menace? Because information is not transparent in our country. I'm not even talking about big things. Let's take a road being built outside your house. If today you have a road being built outside your house and it's not being built well, be honest. If you ask the local contractor that, look, why are you not putting this material? Why are you using defective substances? What will he say? He'll say, I'm sorry, this is not your business. Please leave from this place, right? But why is it that we cannot do what several countries in the West have done, which is any public funding, whether road, port, hospital, anything, bridge, you put it on an open data platform. You see, the key to battling corruption is dissemination of information in a transparent manner. Once you just put every information, what should it say? It should say this much money is being spent on this bridge. This is the amount of time we're going to take. Today this much work has been done. This amount of labor was there. This is their name. This is their phone number. Everything transparently. There will be no room for corruption. The problem in our country is when information remains hidden, it will always lead to somebody making a quick buck behind the scenes. When we talk about young people today, all of you have two things in your mind. One is how to make money, the other is how to do good for society. Both things can happen simultaneously, and I'm going to tell you how. Through social entrepreneurship. See, the world is very different from what it was decades ago. When you even look at examples, look at miracle couriers. Dhruv Lakra is a boy from Bombay. One day he was coming back in a bus. He saw a deaf and dumb person. He said, what will this guy do in his life? How will we lead a life of dignity? And then he went home and somebody gave him a courier. And he said, wait a minute. This job doesn't require anybody to speak or to hear. It just requires a signature. So he made a company called Miracle Couriers. Because of Dhruv Lakra's company and effort today, 12 years later, there are 750 people in India who are deaf and dumb and who are leading a life of dignity and earning 30,000 rupees a month, which is, I thought, amazing. One of the things that you see is people who drive three-wheelers or rickshaws are never their owners. They're almost like slaves to the owners. And they drive for 16, 18 hours a day. They never own their own vehicles. They never lead lives of dignity. My friend Durgesh Nandan in Lucknow saw this, and he started an amazing effort called Automotion Ads. He said everywhere in UP, anybody can advertise on these rickshaws. 50% will go to the owner, 50% to the driver, 25% to the owner, 25% to Durgesh Nandan. He made a lot of money, and because of that, 500 people in the state of UP, which may not sound like a lot, but I think it's a big amount, are now driving their own auto rickshaws within 5 years. You know, these are the changes. Talking about government schemes, there are so many government schemes which are very good, but nobody's heard of them because somebody is busy as a farmer, somebody's busy as a student, somebody's retired, somebody's running a shop, somebody's working a job. You don't have time. Aniket Devkar from Karnataka made a mobile phone app called Hak Darshak, and it's very simple. I did it myself. You just put in your name, your gender, your caste, your state, and whether you're APL or BPL, and immediately within 5 minutes it will tell you all the government schemes you're entitled to, both center and state. And if you pay 50 rupees, which is not a lot of money, it will liaise with the government officials and give you that money sitting at home in your account. And the last example I want to give is of Navneet Ranjan, who was teaching at Harvard. And Navneet came back to work in Dharavi. And he said, I don't want to teach these kids history and maths and physics because that's not what they need. They need to survive. So he just started teaching them how to do coding and how to make apps on MIT App Inventor. And 2 of the apps, which have sold more than 1 million times on Google and Apple Play Store, are Fauzia Aslam Ansari's app, which is called Pani Hai Jeevan, which tells you one day before what time the water will come the next day and for how long it will come, and it makes an EQ for you and it tells you when your turn is, so that no time is wasted and there are no fights that happen in low-income group housing. There's a 15-year-old child who's done this. and earned a lot of money doing it and doing good. And Ansuja Madhiwal, who's made an app called Women Fight Back, which is any woman that signals that she's in trouble. It does location mapping to where you are. It puts an emergency call into your nearest police station because it does geographical mapping. And it also sends out emergency SMSs to 100 of your contacts, which you suggest. And both these young girls have made a ton of money and also done something really, really good. And this is what you all should look at. In my constituency, I did something. I saw Ankit Quatra doing Feeding India, and I was inspired by him. And I just talked to all the hotels, the motels, the marriage halls, and also the rich and middle class people. And I said, if you're going to throw away any food, don't throw it away. Just come and give it to my industrial kitchen. And they all went, and first it was a bit slow, but now it's doing really, really well. And what we do is we take the food, we clean it, we reprocess it, and we make something simple out of it, like khichdi or something like that, and then we give it to the hungry. And today we're feeding over 5,000 people a day. And it's sustainable. And I would like Navrachana University to do that in this city of Vadodara. If you can just go to marriage halls, if you can go to hotels, motels, or just ordinary people and say, rather than throwing out this roti or this rice, give it to us. You'll be surprised how much good you can do if you just think calmly and think straight. I just want to end my speech by saying that, look, all of you are on the cusp of not just adulthood, but you're on the cusp of doing something really good and big with your lives. And I have no doubt in my mind that all of you are going to make grand successes of your lives. But what I want to say to you is that the success of your life should not be measured by what car you drive and how many foreign trips you take, what clothes you wear, and how much you earn. We live in a country that even so many years after independence struggles with very basic problems. Your life should reflect India in her totality. Remember, if you respect the life of the person standing next to you, it is only then that your life has any meaning. There are convenient truths, there are convenient battles, but the only battles worth fighting in life are those that are inconvenient and that are politically incorrect. Those are the battles worth fighting, those are the things worth talking about. A lot of things that I say, I'm a bit scared when I say them. About political reform, about social justice, but I know that they need to be said. All of you have a voice. How many of you here are on Facebook? Almost everybody. How many of you are on Twitter? A little less, but also a lot of people. I would like you to, contact somebody like me. My Twitter handle is Varun Gandhi 80. Varun Gandhi 80 on Twitter and Facebook. Because I'm not just the MP of Sultanpur. I have won from Sultanpur, but I'm an MP of the Union of India. And as much right as those guys have on me, as much right as you have on me. And that's why I've come here today. And if there's an issue that you feel strongly about, whatever issue, it could be the environment, it could be water, it could be urbanization, it could be sanitation, it could be jobs. Reach out to people like me. I've come here to build relationships with you and to fight not just my fight, but to fight your fight. Because if all of us have this thought in our mind that our existence is interdependent, and only if all of us go forward do any of us really go forward, then only we can build the India of our dreams. Thank you so much for being such a disciplined audience and for giving me this time.
Thank you, sir.